Coming up this week on the Just Live Show, we've got a special Christmas show for you. Dave Robertson is going to be joining us to talk about his amazing lights that he's created for his Christmas lights outside his home, synchronized to music. They're absolutely spectacular. You're going to love it. So Dave's going to be on explaining how he's done it, why he's done it, and Gary's going to be joining us as well. We've got some smart home chat and some music tech stuff as well. So let's get straight to Dave. Dave, good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to this show. We've known each other for an awful long time, but this is your first appearance on the podcast.
I don't think I'm quite as technical as you, Ian, or quite as nerdy as you, but I've been working on a project over the past few years that maybe qualifies me to be.
It absolutely does, yeah. So, you've been working on it. Now, I've got to say, you've always enjoyed your Christmas lights for all the time I've known you.
Yeah.
And obsession, I don't know is the word, but maybe you get in there because you've ramped it up from year to year, but particularly this year, it's been absolutely amazing. And I was around at your place at the weekend, and a very cold and wet and windy evening. But it was absolutely worth staying outside because you've got the most brilliant Christmas display on your house of lights, but not only just lights, but lights synced to music that is absolutely amazing. So I'll for the video listeners, I'll share my screen. I've got a couple of clips that I recorded, and then you've got some video you sent me as well, which actually goes behind the scene, because that's one reason I wanted to get on the show, is because I wanted for you to explain to listeners how it works. So I've got it here. The listeners be able to, or the viewers will be able to see this. There's no audio, and we'll talk about the audio in a sec, but that isn't a tree outside your house there. You've constructed all this, and you've fitted all those lights. So not only have you got this amazing light show, it's fully synchronized to music as well. And I think that's what that is. You basically created a light concert. So this is I'll just show some of the video on here. So this is an output of the software. You said we'll come back to software, but you can see how the viewers will be able to see there. It's all synced to the music. So it's an amazing display. First of all, so tell us, when did you start this?
Well, it was sort of a COVID lockdown project. So I think I started playing about with things in 2020. I had a look this afternoon. There's basically one provider in the UK where you can buy this kit from, and looking at my account history, my first order from them was June 21. Right. So I'd obviously learned enough by that point to think I'll go for it. And I've been collecting bits of kit since then. It was difficult over the last few years with COVID, and I guess your listeners would probably know, just trying to get hold of a Raspberry Pi, that type of kit was quite difficult. And it's only really this year that those sort of things have become freely available, and I've managed to get all the bits, all the components needed to put all this together. So it's a long-term project, but this is the first year it's been out in the open and live, if you like.
So in total then, so give us a flavour of what so how many LEDs do you think you've got there?
So I've got just over 11,000 pixels. So they're the individual bulbs, and each of those bulbs contain, I'm not especially technical, this is my understanding, they contain 3 LEDs, a red, a green and a blue, and it's the combination of those colours that allows you to do basically any colour you like and program them each individually if you so wish.
Yeah. and just the physical thing of installing those must have been a massive project.
The most worrying aspect is that big tree at the front that we saw waving about in the wind on Saturday evening. So that's I mean, I am by education a mechanical engineer, but I've never been very practical. So putting that piece together is basically a 3-meter scaffolding pole that's stuck in a concrete base, like you'd stick your umbrella in your back garden, but a bit beefier than that.
A bit bigger than that, yeah.
And it's got 4 half-meter ground screws that go into the ground, those sort of things that hold up marquees and that type of thing. So touch wood, it was very windy on Saturday. That's managed to withstand the wind, and I hope that's the biggest battering it's going to get through December.
You started this, like you said, during lockdown, started via the various components. At what point did you think, this would be even better? I can see people have Christmas lights. So at what point did you think this would be better if I all sync to music?
Well, I think that was always the intention. So
Right.
This sort of thing is more common in the US and in Australia. And I'd at some point seen a video of somebody who'd synced Thunderstruck by AC/DC. And you know me, and that's my bag.
Yeah.
I'd seen that done somewhere on YouTube and thought I'd really love to do that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really until COVID, a bit more time in the house and a bit more spare time, that I started to investigate and see how it can be done. I probably, but for COVID, I would never have got around to doing it at all.
You got the various lights and everything else. So how do you go about then planning that? But planning it so you've got that, the locations where they are, then the mapping, and then all the sequencing and the music. So where do you start with it?
Well, I don't know in hindsight whether I started in the right place, but the if you do a sort of search around YouTube and the like for how these things are put together, you'll come across a software called X-Lights, and that's the software that does all the sequencing and pulls all this together. And what we're looking at here is a video that comes out of X-Lights. It's free software. And what you do is basically take a background image of your house, as I've got there, and then you drag on basically these, what they call props. So the singing Christmas tree is a standard prop. You can download that from the software. I think that comes from a provider in the US called Gilbert Engineering. So it's a standard thing. They're printed here by Build a Light Show, which is a good resource to have a look at if you're interested. That's the only place you can buy all this stuff, so it'll give you an idea of how much of these things cost. And the props, when you drag them onto your layout, if you like, onto your house, they have a wiring diagram with them. You buy the lights, you buy the prop itself, the plastic, and you push these individual pixels into the prop in the right wiring order. Hopefully you get it right first time. And from that, the software knows where each light is and can program it to change color into whatever color you like at a particular point in the track.
Right. So you design your screen, you've got the, like you said, props, those things, and then how do you then go about synchronizing it with the music?
So you end up you basically upload a music track to the X-Light software that you've obviously paid for from Amazon. That's the only thing. Make sure you've got license to use that music. You upload it into the software. That gives you the waveform across a horizontal axis, and then on the vertical axis you've got your list of props basically. And what you do in the software is you the sort of pre-programmed effects, if you like, and you can drag those effects into the screen and place it where it needs to be to do what you want it to do in time with the music, basically. So
you're designing this as like a video editing package or something, or software, like a software development package, isn't it? That you're creating this.
Yeah, I believe, because I haven't done this sort of thing before, but I think that's sort of fairly standard way that you program lighting against a musical waveform or a sound waveform. You're basically dragging effects in and move them around to fit the waveform.
I suppose this is what lighting engineers for like stage productions, concerts, professional concerts. This is the kind of thing that they're doing, don't they? Maybe on a bigger scale, but I don't think I've been to a lot of concerts and I don't think it is on a bigger scale. It's about the same.
Well, I have discovered through doing this. In the end, I ended up joining a Facebook group called European Lighting Fanatics, or ELFs as they like to call themselves. And there's a number of experts in there who've been doing this for years, and it seems like quite a lot of those have that sort of background. They come from lighting, stage shows, that type of thing. Yeah. So that it seems to be a common skill.
So you do all the designing on the application, and then do you then have to like push that to some kind of external master controller? What's controlling all these individual lights?
So I've got a Raspberry Pi is basically the brains of the whole thing. That's connected to two specialist controllers for lighting, which look like an old PC motherboard type thing. I've got two types of those. So there's one that the lights connect directly to the controller, and that does all the lights on that big tree at the front. And I've got another one in the garage that is wired by Ethernet to, I think, 8 sort of remote small controller boards, and each of those have, I think, 4 ports on them that you connect the lights to. So there's quite a lot of bulky kit to try and hide in the garden. But yeah, the Raspberry Pi, you upload the sequence that you've created in the X-Lite software and the music, the media to the Raspberry Pi. Software on there called FPP, which is, again, that's free software, but specially designed for this type of application. And in fact, the software, if you've got everything networked correctly, I believe much easier these days than it used to be. That will search your network, find your Raspberry Pi, and it will upload everything that needs to go across to the controllers and the Raspberry Pi, rather than having to program the controllers individually and work out all the ports and things they call universes that I don't really understand, but is absolutely critical to this sort of thing. The software does all that for you these days.
Yeah. So these boards you buy from the specialist lighting place, and then they talk back to the Raspberry Pi. Yeah. So you kind of building a whole network of lighting controlled by that single controller.
Yeah, I've got the Raspberry Pi plugged into a switch, as is the controller in the garage and the controller on the tree. So it's basically a small network that on a different subnet to my home Wi-Fi.
So not only you've had to learn about lighting and programming, you're also doing network VLANs as well in your own home. I mean, probably a few listeners have VLANs. I do, but not. It's not your normal thing, is it, to have a segmented network in your home just for your own lights?
No, and that's. I mean, that's a little bit closer to my normal background, so I'm more familiar with that than programming lights to music. So I had a little bit of understanding of that. But the other great resource for anyone who's interested in this sort of thing, if you look up on YouTube, VCS, which is Virtual Christmas Summit, there's 3 years of videos and people giving lectures on this type of thing. Again, that's something that came out of COVID. It used to be a physical meeting in the US, but became a virtual meeting. And just by watching those videos, I learned how the controllers and all that sort of thing need to be configured to work with the network. So really useful resource if anybody is interested to do something similar. Yeah,
I mean, and then when you put it all together, you end up with this amazing presentation. You had like a player. I mean, we've seen some of the video of your setup stuff on the screen now, but you actually had like a playlist of the sequences. So how do you go about creating that sort of whole experience and linking it all together?
Well, in terms of the playlist that you see here in YouTube, you can upload the sequences that you've done onto the Raspberry Pi, into the FPP software, and that has its own sort of scheduling functionality, so you can order them around and put them into a playlist as however you see fit.
Right. And then, so you'd already done that. So then it 7 o'clock on Saturday or whatever, then that's when it starts and kicks off.
Yeah.
Or do you have to manually trigger that?
No, it's on a schedule, and I've just really touched its capabilities. So I have a schedule that runs a silent sequence, if you like, during the week. We only play the musical show on a Friday and a Saturday, and that kicks in on the schedule at 7 o'clock Friday and a Saturday, and overrides the background sequencing, if you like. So that's quite straightforward, but there's so much, as you know, that you can do with Raspberry Pi and inputs and outputs in there. So I in the back of my mind, I want to try and put some sort of beam on the driveway that when that's broken, if someone walks down the drive, then my Christmas tree can say Merry Christmas to people as they come towards the house, that sort of thing. But just too much to learn in year one to do that sort of thing.
Well, we'll come back to the future, because I was asking about stuff, because I was asking about what your plans are for that. But so on the music, we should say as well, you had the audio. So where was the audio? Where's the sound coming from?
So the Raspberry Pi has a sound blaster thing plugged into it that then plugs into a little amp in the garage, and I've got a couple of Bose waterproof speakers that I take out during the show and stick those outside. So they're two fairly small speakers, but I think do the job. In all the wind that we had on Saturday night, it was loud enough, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Garry, I think Gary's joined us now. Good evening.
Good evenings. Yeah, talk about wind and rain. That's the reason I'm somewhat late tonight. But I have to say, I'm really impressed, Dave. This is incredibly impressive.
There is one thing I need to come clean on it. That would be a little bit disingenuous if I suggested all of this was my own work. What you can do is there are professionals who sequence some of these songs, and you can buy the sequencing and import that into your own layout. So in the show, I've got a mix of songs that I purchased, songs that I've done myself, and then there are vendors that do the sequencing to the music, but they don't do the lyric tracks, if you like, to the Christmas tree. So I've got some that I've imported the sequence and then done the lyric sequence myself. So there's all sorts of resources that will help you.
Yeah, when
this type of show, yeah.
When that's the thing with this smart home, and especially when you're using like resources like Raspberry Pis, and Garry said, it's a collection of things that you bring together, isn't it? That make it great. You get these bits from there, and drag it all together. I don't know, Garry, how much you've seen of the videos, but this video particularly that we're seeing now, this is an extract from the software that Dave was using to do the mapping, and you could it's absolutely amazing when you see it. It looks so impressive, and it's a lot. How many lights did you say there were?
Just over 11,000 in total.
That takes a lot of putting up, as well as a lot of sequences.
Although there are at least two less this evening. I do a little test every evening because they're quite temperamental. So there are a couple that have gone tonight when I've tested that I'll have to take down tomorrow and replace. So it's cut out and solder some more in. And soldering isn't my forte, so we'll see how we get on with that tomorrow.
Yeah, and you were telling me. Go ahead, Garry.
I was going to say soldering's not my forte either. That's always my challenge.
You might have to come round in and do that for me. I know.
You were saying to me that when a light particularly fails, it's not just a question of swapping a light, single LED for a single LED, because of the sort of the way that they pass the things across.
So each pixel passes the data instruction onto the one after it. So it's a little bit like the old Christmas tree lights in series. When one goes completely, then everything after it will fail. There are certain nuances to how it can fail and what that actually means, but the suggested fix is find the light that's failed and remove that light, the one before it and the one after it. So you replace three at a time, and that because you don't know if it's the light that's receiving the data signal that's having the problem or the one that's sending it. So that I don't understand the technically why that's the best thing to do, but that seems to be the recommended path to fixing these things.
Yeah, but what's amazing though is that all this is being run by 30 quid at the end of it, not the development, but the finished product is being run on a 30 quid Raspberry Pi. I think that.
Oh yeah.
It's really impressive.
The biggest thing on there is the media file. The actual sequence itself is tiny, so it doesn't even need to be, the latest Raspberry Pi. There are people running, really old kit, and it's quite happy running this sort of thing.
Yeah, but then when you see the finished product, especially the way you sequenced it with the tracks and everything else, it's a complete presentation, and what is amazing, it's something you've done yourself and you built yourself over time. And I think, you've not paid someone to put all this in. You've done it over time with your own skills.
Yeah, I think for me, it's unlike you, Ian. I can't play a musical instrument. I can't sing, but it's a way to, be Freddie Mercury, put on a show.
Yeah.
That type of thing. It's just a different way to do that sort of thing, and that's kind of the attraction for me, I think. I've tried to curate the playlist to have some sense. It starts Christmassy and then basically plays all of my favourites from the 80s. And
yeah, well, I was impressed with the musical selection of the playlist. Absolutely, some cracking songs on there. You can see, a few listeners will be able to see on the video of this. There's a lot of 80s rock on there, which is absolutely brilliant.
It's definitely built for me. I think if my neighbours let me do it again, I might have to be a bit more kiddie friendly next year, perhaps. But we'll see.
They're all classics. You mentioned you sort of looking at things in the future. So, what kind of things are you looking at?
Well, the guys that are a bit more experienced than I, they do things like matrices. So basically, a TV screen built out of these lights, so they play, the videos to the music as well, that type of thing. There are things you can attach to the Raspberry Pi, like we mentioned, the beam break detector. So someone walks down the drive and the Christmas tree can wish them a Merry Christmas, that type of thing. All sorts. People have sort of donation stations and have their show driven by particular buttons, so people who are viewing the show can come along, press a button and play a particular song, that type of thing, rather than it be a prescribed playlist. So we'll see.
Yeah, I suppose with the Raspberry Pi, you've got loads of methods for that triggering buttons. You can get the hats and things like that, and I suppose with the fact that you've got it networked as well, you can have another Pi doing that and sending signals back. I suppose there's a massive amount of potential.
Yeah. The one thing actually that's just come to mind that I didn't realise when I started this is the way they do this in the US traditionally is they broadcast the audio on an FM signal, and people listen to it in their cars as they drive past the house, that type of thing. They tune into it. So I thought, that makes sense. I don't have to irritate all my neighbours, and I was quite far in to the project before I realised that was illegal to do in the UK. So it has to be it has to be an out loud show. I'm afraid that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, I think. Can't think of any other ways around it. Yeah, you do need a license for. Gary's an ex-hospital radio guy. You
could. I mean, you probably could get an event license, but you would have to apply for it. It takes a bit of work.
Yeah, because you get it at some of the sports events, don't you? With getting an event license. Yeah.
Having said that, Ian, you know where I'm situated. It probably wouldn't be ideal for people driving past in their cars all the
time. That's right. But I think actually, to be honest, the local audio, the speakers there, actually is what made it good for us as viewers, because we were at your house. We came outside despite the conditions, and nobody went back inside because it was so engaging and so interesting. And I think.
And I'd lock the door so nobody could go back inside.
Yeah, and there was promise of beer, which you did deliver on as well. So to be fair, so it was worth staying out, and chicken pie as well, which was excellent.
Yeah.
Lots of good things, reasons to come then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now the other side to this as well, you've been, like I said, you've been working on it for a few years now. This year you kind of really went for it with the audio and everything else. And there's another side to the reason why you went with this, and you've actually got a donation just giving page, haven't you? So I don't know how much you want to explain on that, but yeah, just give us what made you change it slightly this year and go with that effect.
Well, the original intention wasn't a charity thing, but we were doing this anyway, and as you know, Ian, my wife Tracy was diagnosed with breast cancer in January. Everything's fine. We had a really positive outcome, but we thought, as we're doing this, let's see if we can raise a bit of money as we go along. So there are posters outside the house for people to scan a QR code and make a donation. And I just spotted a very generous donation from one of your relatives there, Ian. So thank him for that.
Yeah, Jack's a big AC/DC fan, isn't he? Same music like you, so he was very impressed with that. But I think this is really, it was really great that you've done this as well. I know that the Rosemary Foundation that Tracy went to was a big support for you. So Yeah, and I think the amount of work that you've done, and then to do this for charity as well, I think is amazing, because it's not just providing entertainment for your neighbours and friends and family, but it's also helping other people out as well. So I think it's a really worthwhile cause, and yeah, we're going to do our donation as well.
The other thing that comes from that, and everybody probably realizes, but it just brings it home, that when you do something like this and you start talking to people, just how common this cancer is, and so many people that we've spoken to in the street that have been know of Rosemere, have been there over the years, or are going through treatment now. It's just unbelievably I don't know what the right word is, common, I guess, at the moment. And
it's great that something that is obviously it's like a hobby. It's entertaining for you to do and put on this presentation as an upside as well, for that can help other people as well. So I think that's really impressive. So
and that is a thing. Most of the people, there aren't lots of people, but most of the people that do this in the UK do it as a charity thing. So there are lots of other people trying to raise money as well.
Yeah, I think that's where maybe you need the tap to pay thing outside, connecting up to the system for next year to tap to donate or whatever.
Yeah, just too much to learn in 1 year. That's
yeah. But I think it is really good, and it's great that as well as it just being for us as well that enjoyed it, but it's helping people out as well. But I think it's such a creative project that you've done, and one that's so interesting. And I put my twinkly lights out the front. I've got 2 sets, and I thought I was doing well with about 500 LEDs, but I'm well off the 10,000 mark on that. But
well, the thing is, I'm not an especially creative person, but if you want to try and be creative, the thing that the software does is it boils it down to I don't know, a bit of a technical drafting project for me, and that is my background. I'm an engineer. I used to do technical drawing, and just being understanding placing things in that space allows you to do something that isn't, I could never play an instrument, and like I said, I can't sing, but it allows you to do something musically creative that I couldn't do any other way.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant, and I think what's the favorite thing about it is it's just something that you've pulled together various resources. It is reachable for anyone really that has got the inclination to do it and a bit of skills, but like you said, you don't need to be a smart home lighting expert. You can learn this yourself. So I think anybody that wanted to get started with something like that, it is achievable if you put in 3 years of work.
Oh yeah, and the just looking at the picture there, it tests your DIY skills as well. So the 3 arches that you see at the front, the base of there is plumbing pipe from B&Q. The big tree there, the metal base of that is a trampoline base with all the springs taken out, so that's holding that together. So it's a common way to approach these things in the Christmas lighting community, but you start to test yourself a little bit if you're not particularly efficient at DIY, and that's definitely me.
I think it's amazing, Gary. We talk about the smart home community or the media center community, but there's a full Christmas lighting community as well.
Oh yeah, look up the Elves if anybody's interested. That's the place to start. And in fact, that they have a Zoom meeting every Thursday, which I've joined a number of times. This time of year, they're just helping everybody out with technical issues and all that type of stuff. But come January, they start a full training session for beginners. So if anyone is interested, that's the thing to do. Join the European Lighting Fanatics on YouTube, and they will get you started in January.
Amazing. I have to say that there's a really good one just down the road from me. I was thinking about your car, because they've actually done it. I guess some sort of proximity sensing, because as you drive past, the display follows your car. Depending no matter how fast you're going, it follows you, which is amazing.
And I suppose the final question is, when you first of all, how long is it going to take you to take these down, and where are you going to store them?
I don't know, because I've never done it before. It took me 4 days to put them all up. That there's certain maintenance that you need to, if you want to use these again next year, as you take them down, you need to sort of spray all the contacts with contact cleaner and that type of stuff. So think I'm going to have to sell my treadmill in the garage next month to put all this back in.
And that's the other thing as well. You briefly mentioned, you've got there's ongoing maintenance, because I mean there's so many cables and joints and things. How do you make sure everything stays dry?
You pray, and it doesn't. So I've had 1 or 2 failures with, that all of the lighting and stuff is imported from China, and it's generally okay, but some of the threads don't quite fit, and I've ended up taping up a lot of things, and some of the lights fail and you have to replace them. So that was a sort of aspect of the project I hadn't really anticipated. I'm learning that through December, so it's been a busy December, keeping on top of maintaining it even during the season. Yeah,
well, I think it's an absolutely brilliant project. I can see how much you've enjoyed doing it, and I've seen how much we enjoyed watching it as well. So I can't wait to see what you come up with for next year.
I don't know. I'll have to think of something now. You have to
set yourself a challenge for next year, and I think the whole thing's brilliant. So I really enjoyed watching it, and thanks very much for taking the time to come on the show tonight to explain it, because I think a lot of our listeners are really going to enjoy it as well. So the listeners, I'll include the link, the listeners and viewers, I'll include the YouTube link, and also the Just Giving page as well. I'll try and find the link, or if you want to send me the link for the elves, I'll make sure the elves get a mention on the show notes as well.
Yeah, I will. There's 3 or 4 sort of key resources that I direct people to if they were going to do something like this. So I'll send you the links to those.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for your time, David. Really enjoyed that, and we'll see you at your place for another few more beers and chicken pie soon.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Well, I told you it was impressive. It's absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, absolutely phenomenal, and I definitely, I mean, great cause as well. So definitely encourage people to donate as well, because the effort's got into that is worth a donation regardless of it. But it's a great cause as well.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So, so really enjoyed that. So, we've got some other bits and pieces to do before we finish off this week. So, I've got my I feel a bit ashamed showing these now, but I'll share the desktop now. But I did have the my twinkly lights on, the twinkly candies are up on my Christmas tree. So let me show you that. So rather nice. This is only a brief video, but of course with that twinkly lights, you've got a playlist. So
yeah,
that is one effect. That one, and I think I've got another one somewhere. I think you can have 15 effects. Here's another one, and you can. I've got them in a place. It's 30 seconds, so it cycles through. So I did the mapping. So I put the lights on, and with the mapping, what you do, you take a picture, then you move to another angle, take a picture, take another angle, and so on, and then it understands where the lights are, and then that's how it creates those patterns. So there's a sort of different pattern. There's fireworks, snow, and all sorts of things. So it's really impressed with those. So those worked out really nice. And then of course at the front, I've got those other ones which are already done. So I think I quite like that. They're not up to Dave standards, but they'll do for inside anyway. Did you have something you want?
Yeah, so I've talked quite a bit about the Aqara FP1 sensor on the show. So that's a radar-based sensor for presence detection. Which works really well, and I've been kind of looking for a cheaper alternative because it's really expensive, and I wanted to have a few presence sensors around, and I found, I don't know if I can get this in focus with my backdrop working, but let's see. There we go. I found this very cheaply, actually, on the dreaded Temu site, but they do have some bits and pieces which are quite good. So shipped from China, less than a tenner. So can't really complain about that, and the actual device looks like this. It's USB powered, and it is a human detection. So it's not like an infrared detector or anything. It actually does proper presence detection using vibration and sensing and breathing sensing and stuff like that. Actually, seems to be slightly more accurate than the Aqara one was. Although the car one does placement, this doesn't. This just tells you you've got distance, you've got something close up or distance. I'm not using it with their own software. This is actually a Zigbee device. I haven't got a Zigbee hub. This is on Toya Smart Life, so I'd have to have a Toya Zigbee hub for that. But I'm using it with SmartThings. and it works really, really well with SmartThings. There is a third party driver, one of the community drivers available for it. I think it's a Toya generic driver, but basically it just works. You connect it up, it starts saying you've got presence. But it's also got a luminosity detector in there as well. So it's kind of a bit of like that one you got through the other week. I've forgotten the name of it, which had the loads of sensors in them. So it's got luminosity and presence in there as well. But yeah, it works really, really well. I'm very impressed with it actually. So that's Loginovo is the brand. So yeah,
but the luminosity sensor is actually really good, because that's one thing I'm missing. I've got a motion sensor in here that triggers the light above me on.
Yeah.
But as at the moment, it switches it on during the day when you don't need it. So if what I do need is a luminosity sensor, so to check the light level, and if it's below a certain light level and someone's in the room, put the light on. That makes sense.
Yeah, so I've been playing quite a bit with the luminosity sensor. So I've got it so if the luminosity drops below a certain level, the lights come on. And I've actually been working on a step process for that. So it says if the luminosity drops below the level, it puts it up 10% each time. So initially the lights can come on quite dim, and then they just get brighter and brighter until they reach maximum brightness. And then if the lighting goes over a certain luminosity, it starts dimming the light slightly. So it keeps it within that boundary. I quite like in terms of brightness, which works really, really well. So yesterday we had a fairly heavy rainstorm, and just for a few minutes the room dimmed down and the lights just came up and dimmed down again, and it really was not noticeable. I mean, the lighting level didn't seem to change at all. So it was, very, very impressed with that. I like it a lot. The other thing it does is it acts quite well as a security alarm. So if the lights aren't on at night and suddenly there's presence detected, I can actually make it do some sort of alarm warning or whatever, because it actually works through the door. So it notices presence just outside the doorway, which is quite a clever thing. So and it's amazingly good range, because this is you can't see it obviously because I've got the back door, but I'm in my outside office, which is a long corridor effectively, and it works for most of the length of the building. So to the presence, and it's really quick as well. The FP1, as I mentioned, the thing with ghost images on it, where basically it says it's still got presence even when you've left the room. This definitely works within 20-30 seconds. It knows for definite you've left the room, and it cuts off. And you can actually change the setting on that so it curtails itself quicker, with a slightly more problematic false alarms on that. But now at 20 to 30 seconds it's absolutely rock solid. It really has not given me a presence alert when I've not been in the room, and it's great because it's unlike most of the infrared sensors. When I'm sitting still like I am now, I'm just looking at the moment, all my infrared sensors are now saying there's no movement in this building. But this one is still detecting presence, so it's good. It's USB powered as well, so you can plug it into any USB power source. I've actually happened to have it plugged into the USB port on the back of my monitor, because that's always on when I'm in here, so it picks up. So it works really, really well. I'm impressed with it. For the money, it's definitely a bargain.
That's good. That is something I definitely want to look at, especially as I'm probably doing the kitchen next year, and I quite like some of perhaps the under counter lighting to low light to vary depending on when people are in.
The other nice thing about this one is and I don't get up and get on the picture, but the picture it's really difficult to get this thing got back. I know my office is a total mess at the moment, so it's not working. Come on, it's if
you keep it on, there, that's it.
Anyway, you can't really see it, but this is the actual. There's two variants of this. The one I've got is the wall mounted one, but there's also a roof mounted one, which actually goes into a hole in the roof, so you could actually have them as down lighters effectively,
right?
And do it that way. So, and they can be mains powered, so you don't have to have the USB power supply for them. So, if you're doing some sort of structural conversion work, it strikes me as quite a good way of doing it.
I think I have to have a look at something like that when I do my kitchen, because I think if you've got to turn your light on with an app, you've not got it right. You need it to be smarter than that, don't you? So I think it's either a simple light switch or some smart control. That's what you need, isn't it? So yeah, I think I'll look at that. Any other smart home stuff you had for us this week?
Just a couple of things. Smart Things have been making some updates to the app, which are quite interesting. Sort of making it a little bit easier to find things and do things. And I've noticed quite a few of my sensors and things which didn't used to work are now being picked up. So that's really good to see that because for all the doom and gloom there was this time last year about Smart Things with the changeover to the Edge drivers, it actually seems to have gone quite well, and there seems to be quite some improvements. They have also recently brought an admin sort of advanced smart web-based portal for your smart home, which gives you all the under the skin stuff, so you can look at what your hub's doing, what all the stuff you used to be able to do before they took it all away a few years back, and that's really good to see as well. So yeah, so some good stuff going on in that sphere. I'm trying to get all my home automation now to be on either Zigbee or Matter, because that seems to work better than the Wi-Fi ones around here. They get too much interference. But that's always a challenge, because Zigbee is a standard which isn't a standard, as I've mentioned many times in the past.
Yeah,
it's getting better. There are definitely bits of Zigbee which are really good standards, like the Zigbee lighting standard. That's working pretty well. So yes, there's some good stuff out there, but it's interesting to do that. I'll send you this link for that Zigbee that sensor. It's not actually where I bought it from, but just to give you an idea of how cheap these are compared to the 80 odd quid you'll pay for a car FP1. So I think this link at the moment is £6.56 a unit, which is which is quite crazy. And they have quite a few different varieties. They have a Wi-Fi version as well as a Zigbee one. So if you didn't want to go the Zigbee route, you can do a Wi-Fi version, and then you've got a whole load of other varieties of them you can use. So
that might be quite useful for Dave's lights next year, because he can detect if someone's near the house and trigger the lights.
And because it is human presence, and it can be fine if you've got their version of the app running, and you've got a hub. So with the Wi-Fi one, you can just use the app directly. You don't need a hub. Then you can actually really fine tune it to sort of say things within a certain range and things. It works really well. Not quite as well as the Ikawa one. Actually, the Ikawa one would probably be, if it would work outside, would be really good for him, because with that one you could actually work out where people are actually standing relative to it. So as you walk into zones, you could have different things happening.
Yeah,
which would be I think the ideal one for that. And that can actually detect multiple people as well, so you could actually see different people in different zones and do different things at the same time because of that. So yeah, lots of things you could do there, but yeah, it's definitely interesting world at the moment with all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of the things we have for this week on a different track. I did have a new video out last week. I did another vintage synth video. A vintage synth Korg M1, which doesn't seem that vintage, but it was actually 1988 when it was released, so I suppose it is now. And I sort of delved into the history of that synth and some sound demos and some and of course there is a virtual version of it available now, so I've got that on there with all the sound demos of the virtual one and some free sound downloads as well if you've got a Korg Mob Wave. So that's on there, and I've got probably another one coming out next week on the Korg Poly 6. I think that's my next one. I quite enjoyed doing those, and I've got some more sound collections coming out. We did have a build last week for Dev and Canary. I did just do the video on the Canary, which is 2610, because most of the features in that were actually in in the dev one as well. There was a couple of changes. You can change the widget change is you can choose your different account. I think we talked about that one last week, but it's actually available in the build now. Although it wasn't there when I tried it. I was on the dreaded A/B testing. The Copilot you can dock and undock now. I think that settings actually come across onto my production machine as well. So you can choose whether, if you have it, you can click on the dock. I think I'll probably show you on here. So this is my version. Yeah, the dock option is off at the moment. So when you've got it open, you see that it takes that full third of your screen, not quite a third, but that band down the side of your screen. And if you have the option there like that, it actually stays underneath. And so that you can show it when you need it. So that's probably, it's got the same size and it doesn't disappear, but it's not taking up your screen. Whereas if you have it in the old way, the dock way, then it seems to be, yeah, it just takes up that screen. There's nothing you can do with it about it unless you close it. So that was one change. There was a couple of changes in the settings as well. I seem to remember I'll find that on here. In the quick actions, that's now stacked. You've got two levels on it. So that was the main change. And like I said, the dev builds had those as well. So the dev, I've included that in the video. I think we also had a beta release as well, but there was no real changes with that. So we're still getting build. I'm not sure we'll get any more. Maybe this week we'll get another set, and then that's probably it for the rest of the year in terms of builds, because we're getting close to the holiday season, as people say at Microsoft. So yeah, we're probably going to get restricted on builds, and then hopefully we'll find out in the new year some stuff about the next version of Windows. I've seen stories speculating that it's all going to be AI based and everything else, but whether it will be branded as Windows 11, whether it will be branded as Windows 12, I don't think that's probably been decided yet. Never mind leaks. So.
I doubt it's been decided.
I think what we'll do is I will listen to our prediction show from last year next week, and I'll make some notes, and we'll
I cannot remember at all what I predicted last year.
No, I can't. So I don't think we predicted AI as much as maybe. I don't think we predicted it would be this much of a thing this year, but I'll have a listen back and see if we did, and we can also. Make some predictions for next year, because it'll be our final show of the year next week, I think. So it's rapidly coming around to Christmas. So I think that's everything for this week's show. I include the links to the YouTube videos in the Just Giving page, and Dave's actually sent me some links for the useful links for the place where he's been buying the lights from, and some of the resources he had. So he sent me those through. I'll include Gary's link as well on there. So Gary, where can we find you?
You can find me at Garry WMA on all the social media platforms, just about. Yeah.
You can find me at iSticks on X, and I am on Instagram and on other ones, but I don't really use them. I think probably most of the stuff now is on YouTube. That's where you'll find all my videos. And I'm not that far from the 10,000 subscriber thing, so I think I might have to start pushing out to get I guess it'll be sometime later, maybe even this time next year or something like that. But I think it's quite a milestone to get 10,000, so I need to think about pushing that. I don't actually push the subscribe thing. Some YouTubers do. I always leave it, but it would like the nice round number. But that's a thing for next year. Right, so we'll get going. We'll see you next week, and enjoy your Christmas lights.
Indeed. Thank you.